Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Thanks for coming on to the live. We're on here Tuesday at 7 p.m. Okay, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. guys. Okay, so as you know, Calibrate Tools is dedicated to, you know, home improvement tools, DIY, the trades, and on the lives we talk about all of those things, except it's a more informal conversation. I get to talk to all of you guys, and we get to have a back and forth, and I get to know you guys, and that's what the lives are all about. So today's topic, to jump right into it, has to do with safety. Really, I know it says, "Is your workplace toxic?" And that can mean a lot of things, right? It could mean, are you breathing in bad air, or are your relationships not that not that good for you. We all been on a job or in an environment where uh, there's a lot of tension in the air and so forth and all of that. That's part of safety too, right? Because safety doesn't just have to do with your physical well-being; it has to do with your mental well-being also. Okay, so that's not being taken care of. What's the point, right? It's like you're getting up to go to uh, a place that is really reducing your quality of life just to get a paycheck, and who wants to do that for the next 10, 15 years, or however long you're there. um, and it can, this conversation today is going to focus on, you know certain things in your work environment that you should notice. Right, you should read the signs and do something about it, right? Because a lot of times we see red flags and we just don't do anything about it. It can cost us our mental health, it can cost us our physical health, obviously. um, and sometimes it can just cost us our lives, right? And I'm going to touch on an incident, story that I just came across not too long ago about a young man. He was a trades he was, because he's no longer here, unfortunately. He was a tradesman. He was a welder and a millwright. Okay, so he had some skills. He had some skills, and he apparently he went to some town to find work because it was slow where he was, and he ended up not leaving the town that he found, right, because of workplace toxicity. Right, that's a diplomatic way of putting that. It can be put in many other terms, but for the sake of this live, let's talk about toxicity, right, and things we should at least look out for, to take care of ourselves, because sometimes the money's just not worth it. Period. The money's just not worth it, and all money isn't good money. Okay, so can somebody tell me? Hey, the Waffle Two, how you doing? Excellent point about safety. Yeah, thank you. Safety involves a lot of things, right? It's not, it's not just about physical safety, which of course we all need to uh, take heed of all the precautions we need to follow in order to stay safe. I work around tools, sharp objects, um, all day long. I've been cut up, sliced up, burnt up, all that stuff. So I know about physical safety. Okay, but what about mental safety? What about psychological well? What about your psychological well-being? How's that going for you? Right? Because let's just say if you work in an environment where your physical safety is, you sit in a cubicle, you're not really you're not really dealing with any dangerous tools, or you got to work on top of skyscrapers, and you got to make sure your harness is strapped in good so you won't fall to your death and all that. But a lot of people are falling to their deaths right in a cubicle because they're sitting in an environment where, say, their coworkers are hostile, or just indifferent to their, they may have grievances that, or even their employer may be indifferent to their grievances, and that can cause a lot of stress. That can cause a lot of stress on someone, and even make you sick, right? Because we know a lot of times illness stems from, physical illness stems from um, stress, right? Stress. Hey, Perigirl, how you doing? Perigirl Life Notes. Yep, this seems to be happening a lot. The banks, schools, grocery stores. Yeah, you would think. Yeah, just look around, guys. I mean, just I don't remember growing up having to deal with school shootings, you know, mass shootings, and all this stuff, right? That's so prevalent today that our little kids have to, it's part of their life, right? It's something that we didn't have to deal with Why is that? Anybody want to guess why that is? You can say, okay, social media, all whatever, right? But it seems to all these things have increased over time, where it seems like it's the norm. It happens every other week, right? And yeah, those things happen every day, all day. Like people do things to each other, violent to each other, and all that. But sometimes we got to look at the reason, right? Uh, a lot of people like to bring up, hey, well, look at that city. They're killing each other, this and that. Well, that type of violence, right? That type of dysfunction and toxicity can be traced to levels of poverty, right, or levels of wealth. Poverty, uh, there's a relationship between poverty and crime. I mean, it has nothing to do with race or skin color. It just has to do with poverty, lack of access to resources, and that's a fact. So to blame it on a certain race or ethnicity or whatever you want to, that's total um, disregard for the truth, right? Um, but then you have the type of violence where it's not coming from poverty; it's coming from other things, right? What are those other things? And unfortunately, um, on in the workplace, right? You can experience, or unfortunately, you can experience different levels of dysfunction and toxicity that can really affect your mental health. And in the case of the young man I'm going to talk about, it affected his physical health because he was murdered. He was killed. They found him. And that young man is a man by the name of Rasheem Carter. I don't know if you guys heard of Rasheem Carter. Um, I think it was, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe a month or two ago. They found him down in Mississippi in a field. They found what was left of him, I should say, his remains, along with his identification, right, like license, his driver's license, and all that other stuff. They found him there, and they only found his skull, I think, and then they may have found other parts, or other parts showed up in the mouths of animals, or. So yeah, it gets pretty gruesome. So if you don't want to hear about it, you can feel free to click off. But one of the reasons I want to talk about Rasheem Carter is because he was a tradesman. He was a welder, and he was a millwright. I think I mentioned that earlier. And so, yeah, he did have skills, but he went looking for work. Um, like I said, because where he was, it was kind of slow. So he went to this other town in Mississippi called Taylorsville. And apparently, he had some issues with his coworkers or his employer on the job, and he sought help because I guess it got so toxic. I don't know what the issue was, but apparently it got so toxic that he ended up calling the authorities, or talking to them. But apparently they didn't take him seriously. They brushed him off, according to stories. Um, and then he ended up calling his mother for help because apparently he didn't have the means to leave the place because he wanted to leave, and said he was being chased by three white men. Okay, he told his mother he was being chased by three white men, calling him racial slurs, and that was the last time they heard from him. The last time they came across him, he was in pieces, literally, in a field. And I think he was. They have some evidence of him being on camera with his shirt off, in a looking stressed and running around or something like that. But yeah, that is a prime example of a toxic work environment because according to him, he was being threatened by his coworkers, and whatever threat that they leveled against him, they meant it because he's no longer here, right? What could he had done differently, right? He's a young man. He's looking for work. He went out and found work, and but apparently he found something else that you know was was uh, was waiting for him. And I don't know all the details behind it, but I want to honor this young man's life, Rasheem Carter, because he's not the only one. It may have been publicized, but there are countless stories around the United States of this type of stuff happening to African Americans, especially African American men. And I felt that it was important for me to talk about this, especially the fact that he was a tradesman. He was a welder. He was a millwright. He was just looking for an honest day's work, probably to take care of himself and his family. And he found something worse than what he bargained for. Perigo Lagno says, a young man hired to work is not safe if the environment is toxic with other workers who decide he or she does not belong there because of race. Yeah, absolutely, Perigirl. Perigirl Lagno says, nepotism in the unions are rampant. Yes, I've seen it myself. So regardless of what you think, your opinions on this, this is a very real situation for many people in the country, having to deal with this very, very toxic relationship, especially if we want to talk about race relations. Yeah, on the job, right? Unfortunately, there's, in spite of the so-called strides in terms of equality and all of that, we've seen in the last couple of years, and I don't want to get political here, but we've seen a rise in the anti I don't want to say anti minority or anti black sentiment. And why is that? Right? Why is that? That creates a very toxic environment. Nobody here watching me or listening to me can deny that this stuff isn't happening. Okay, it is happening, and you see it on your job. You see it on job sites. Rashim Carter is the extreme case of it, where his life was taken over, probably just the fact that he was an African American black man, and over what? Hate and evil, plain and simple. Hate and evil, right? And if you're not an African American man or woman having to deal with it, and you're, whatever, and you can, there's things you got to deal with as well, right? You understand when there's a toxic environment, and when you're in it, because you feel it, right? You feel it, and what do you do about it? Do you stay there or do you leave, right? Is it affecting your psychological health, where you come home and you take it out on your family, all right? Or even worse, you take it out on yourself. You try to self-medicate with, drugs and alcohol or whatever's out there. Yeah, these are very real issues people have to deal with. And the trades, being in the trades, right? It's rampant. And Perigirl Lagno mentioned the union, right? Yeah, I've been around a lot of union workers, right? And you're making a lot of money, got a lot of benefits, but there's a lot of toxicity in those environments. I'm telling you. So at the end of the day, your health is wealth. Matter of fact, health is actually more valuable than wealth, because without health, you don't have any wealth. And you got to take care of your mental health. And especially to my African American men, my black men out there, my brothers, take care of yourself. If you find yourself in a toxic environment where you're experiencing racism, and you can experience it on many levels, from microaggressions to outright aggression, like Rashim Carter experienced, rest his soul. Don't stick around. It's not worth it. It's not worth your mental health. It's not worth your family's mental health. It's not, if you feel your life is in danger, get out of there, or report it to somebody. Tell somebody so they could know, hey, look, he told me that he was in this environment, and so I'm not surprised, right? Don't keep it to yourself. Don't try to be a hero. Apparently, Rashim was outnumbered, and they got to him. Unfortunately, he was. Imagine that, you're in a town, you have no resources, you don't know anybody. The authorities are brushing you off, and so what he, it's the odds are stacked against you, right? The odds are stacked against you, and I wish he would have made it out of there, but he didn't. But let that be a lesson to us. Okay, let that be a lesson to us that um, this country, as much opportunity that it presents people, there's still a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of hate and evil in this country, and if you're on the receiving end of that, you know what I'm talking about. But you have to take care of yourself. Okay, you have to take care of yourself, and don't put yourself in danger. Right? Don't put yourself in danger for a paycheck. If you feel you're unsafe or you're um, don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. Most of the time, your intuition is right. Okay, most of the time, your intuition is right. Burger Life No says, uh, not just in the South either, right? This is right. You're right, Pergo. It's not just in the South. It's all over. It's all over. Okay, it's all over. And anybody who denies that or wants to pretend like it's not that way, I don't know what to say to you. I really don't. And this is not an exaggeration. This is not victimhood talk. If you feel it's victimhood talk, um, if a woman gets assaulted by a man, and she talks about it, is she a victim? Is that victimhood talk? No, it's not. That's absurd to even think that way. So just to express the realities of a situation is, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. And if someone feels this is victimhood talk, then you need to just unsubscribe and get off my channel, because that's, this is real life here. This is people's lives are at stake. And I'm gonna talk about it because it needs to be talked about. And I want to honor Rasheem Carter's life. I want his family to know, if they ever see this video, that Rasheem Carter and everybody like him who didn't make it, or whose life was taken by cowards, and they couldn't step to him one on one. You know, um, they are cowards, and I want his family to know that he is not forgotten, and everybody like him, including the young man recently that got the young African American kid that got shot just by knocking on someone's door. Uh, you know, it seems like it's happening. It happens every week. I mean, a grocery store. You go into a church. It's like, how long do you expect people to put their heads in the sand about this stuff? How long? People trying to make an honest living can't even make it because of the hatred and evil in your hearts, man. When I say if the shoe fits, then wear it. Come on in the comments and tell me I'm not telling the truth. Bruno Natividad said there's racism everywhere. Yeah, Bruno, that's right. It is everywhere. It's a cancer. It's a disease, right? It's a disease that's actually worse than any disease I can think of, any physical disease, because it affects the spirit, affects the soul. And how do you cure that? I don't know. How do you cure that? Right? It hasn't been cured yet. And I remember listening to a union member. He was in the union a pretty long time, and he was giving a lecture to the class, because I instruct at a welding school. And he came in and he was giving a lecture to the class. He was talking about safety and what you should look out for, what you should prepare for when you get into the union and all that. And one thing I can respect about this guy's lecture that I didn't hear from any other lecturer is he said that you will run into nepotism, right? Meaning nepotism is when family members are favored over everybody else, or relatives are favored over everybody else. You will run into racism, yes, and then you have to know how to deal with it appropriately, right? And I did respect him for talking about that, because these are realities that most most people don't even want to talk about, right? They kind of sweep it under the rug like it doesn't exist. Well, it does exist, and it affects people every day. It affects it affects their minds, their hearts, and their quality of life, right? And to the racists out there, and the ones that took Rasheem Carter's life, um, and people like you, and I'm talking to you, yeah, it affects you too, because it makes you a monster, right? That's what you are. You're a monster, and just want you to know that. And you, so, yeah, guys, just look out for yourself, look out for your health, look out for your safety. You know, not just from equipment, but from people as well. Okay, from people. Yeah, Bruno said it seems to be amplified in the last couple of years. By the way, Bruno was a student, welding student. Bruno, congratulations on getting certified. Bruno is a certified welder right now, and I'm proud of you, Bruno, for going through the program, sticking it out. Didn't take that long, did it? Um, and I wish you the best. Come on back through if you need to sharpen your skills. You know where we are. But yeah, Bruno says it seems to be amplified in the last couple of years. Yeah, and I'm not going to get into who was in office, who was in office, and all that. I don't want to turn this into a political conversation, but it has been amplified, uh, and and it has been given, you know, uh, I guess given a pass, because I don't want to say because certain people were in office, but they felt more at liberty to express their real feelings. But in a sense, it's kind of a good thing, because it's like if you turn over a rock, you see all the bugs and all the worms and stuff that's been living under that rock. At least you know what's under there, and you know what to get rid of, right? Well, I think that's what's happening. I think that's what's happening now, right? Not that it hasn't been happening all the time, but all this stuff being exposed, politicians being or people in office being caught with saying things, being secretly recorded, expressing their real views, their real opinions, their real biases and prejudices and racism. Um, uh, it's a good thing, actually, right? Um, and Because that will spur change, and it will wake people up. It will wake people up to show them that, hey, look, man, you think you've gotten this far, but you really haven't. So don't get on your high horse thinking you're the bastion of liberty and freedom when you're not, right? And yeah, this is, of course, nobody's perfect or everything, but don't pretend like you are. Don't put yourself out there as you know, uh, the pinnacle of freedom, when it's just really all about capitalism, you know. And so, yeah, Perry Girl says, yes, for sure, it's exposing the real self of those folk. Yeah, yeah. There's no need to mince words here on Calibrate. I mean, I don't mince words on my lives, and you know, if the shoe fits, wear it, right? Yeah. So once again, um, every it seems like you turn on the news every other day, it's some young black man getting shot, getting killed. And for those of you that say, yeah, you're killing each other over there in Chicago and all that, yeah, like I said before, there's a direct relationship between poverty and crime. Okay, has nothing to do with race or color. You don't talk about what's happening in Appalachia, or some places like that, in the poor white areas. All you see on the news, because the media itself um, is bought and paid for, right? To show a certain segment of society in a certain light, right? But they don't show you the other part. They got what about the poor white neighborhoods, right? You don't show them on the news, do you? Right? Because it's designed to. The system was designed to denigrate the image of the African man. Right, the black family was destroyed since slavery. Right, and the systems have been put in place to keep that paradigm alive. Right, split them up. We don't want them to get. We don't want them progressing. We're going to destroy every town that they build that's successful, and that's exactly what happened. Did you know that many bodies of water around the United States were man-made? Bodies of water were put there to uh, cover the towns, the black towns that were prosperous during segregation, because segregation forced us to go build our own and have our own, and we did that. We did it very well, and we did it with excellence. But because of hatred and evil, they were destroyed. And to cover it up, the sins of this nation, you covered it up with bodies of water. Okay, so Rasheem Carter was in a toxic work environment. Okay, I don't want to go off on a tangent there because I'll be honest, I do feel passionate about these subjects because it affects people's daily lives. Paragraph Leitner says, I don't believe it's black on black crime always. There are definitely planted individuals to create chaos. Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely, Paragraph Life notes. And, I already knew this conversation was going to take us into different avenues. But yeah, there's a, we could go into that, but that's very true. That's very true. So, toxic work environments, toxic whatever environment it can be in. You gotta protect yourself and see the red flags and try to address it. Address it to your higher ups if you're in a job. And if they don't do anything about it, then you know what to do about it, right? Let's see here. Well, here's a list of signs of a toxic workplace. Signs of a toxic workplace. There are no boundaries at work. People don't trust each other. There's no room to make mistakes. People treat each other with contempt. The interpersonal relationships aren't healthy. And that's not saying you have to be buddy with everybody, but you should have some healthy respect for each other, right? In the workplace, right? If there's no healthy respect, then there's going to be problems, right? Somebody's going to have to go, or it won't be pleasant to be there at all. There's no support for employee growth, right? So if you have employees, if you're an employee, you have employees, you're not giving them opportunities to grow, or at least a chance, or at least telling them, hey, look, if you stick with this, you can advance up. If they don't see any opportunity for that, that's toxic, man. That's toxic. That's keeping a ceiling on someone's growth, and that can really be stressful to some people. Some people are satisfied staying where they are, but some people aren't. So you should provide opportunities for growth, because when somebody sees opportunities for growth, they're more productive. They're on a mission, and they can really help your business, right, and help themselves at the same time. People frequently feel gaslighted. If you ignore someone's grievances, like Rasheem Carter, I think he went to his employer and complained to him about what was going on, and the employer didn't listen, just like the cops didn't listen. When he went to authorities and he got to that level, they gaslighted him and probably made him feel like he was the one causing problems. And that's toxic, right? If you're constantly feeling like you're being targeted, right, or singled out as the problem when you're not, then that's not good. That's not healthy. It's time for you to leave, right? Especially if it's coming from your higher ups. Yeah. Let's see here. Very good life knows if you are in a toxic environment at work, You must be strategic in how and who you approach. Yes, yes, you got to be strategic. You can't just work off your emotions. That's another thing. The more control of your emotions, the better off you'll be, even in a toxic environment. Because when you have control of your emotions, you're able to see clearly and strategize your way out of the situation, or even how you approach people. Right? If you're in an emotional state, things are going to be said, um, possibly done, that can really make it worse for you. Right? So, um, and if you have a long-term vision, and there's an opportunity that that place provides you, uh, sometimes it's best just to say, okay, what's my ultimate goal here? Can I make it through to get to my ultimate goal? And if it's that stressful, then you might have to leave and seek that elsewhere. But if it's not, and you can handle it in a mature way, and you have other ways of coping, whether it's, I don't know, for some people it's praying or whatever it needs to be, um, because you know that eventually in 6 months time, a year's time, you're going to achieve this particular goal, right? And you can make it through. So having a vision, having a goal can really help as well, help you navigate through these stressful environments as well. Okay. um Anybody got any other pointers about being in a toxic workplace? Yeah. And yeah, guys, this is a very real topic. A lot of people don't want to touch on because it's very sensitive. I talked about the issue of racism in the workplace and all that. Um, you know, like I said, Rashim Carter experienced the worst form of that. He lost his life, and that's everywhere. Just like nepotism, all the isms exist, and you have to, if you're not psychologically prepared or mentally prepared for this, you can be walking into a you know walking into a trap, right? uh, where you end up having to see a therapist every other week because right, you didn't prepare yourself. So just like you walk into any situation, you got to prepare yourself. Any job, anything like that. Don't just think, oh, I'm going to be getting paid 50 grand a year or whatever it is, whatever number it is. You know, look at the people. Look at the environments you're going to step into. These are the kind of people you want to be around. Do you anticipate any problems? Uh, Thank you to Waffle too. Yes, please hit the like button, guys. If you're getting anything from this, hit the like button, share it, and hit that subscribe button as well. I'm really on here to help you. And yes, we do touch on topics that may seem a little sensitive at times, but this is not a feel good channel. This is a reality channel. This is an educational channel, and that's what it's about. So I appreciate the shout out to Waffle too for that. Thank you very much. Yeah, so yeah, keep these things in mind, guys. I see a lot of people. I come into contact every day with people who been through a lot in their lives, and it was because of stress. It was because of being in a toxic environment, growing up in a toxic environment, making the wrong choices, and all of that. So you can think you're making the right choice when it comes to your workplace. Um, but don't just make it based off of a paycheck or how much money you're going to make, right? Um, Visit the place first and see if, like I said, see if that's the type of environment or people that you would feel safe around, feel secure around. And if you're not feeling that, if you're getting the cold shoulder when you walk into place, nobody speaks to you, all of that stuff, that's a red flag right there. You know, that's a red flag right there. What about aligning with fellow workers? That's what SMNR asks. By the way, welcome to the channel, SMNR. Um, yeah, I mean, if I'm sure you're probably not the only one feeling these things. If you do feel them, I'm sure that others have too. And yeah, if you find true allies, then great. But sometimes in the work environments, it can be very uh, L says join or starting a union. Yeah, I mean, I think I heard of a guy who worked for Amazon when Amazon was being uh, uh, put in the news for you know maltreating their employees, and he started his own union and all that. If you have the heart to do that, and if you're in an environment where you feel people are being mistreated in all kinds of ways, then yeah, um, why not, right? I mean, the tide has to turn at some point, and maybe you're the one to do it, right? I'm telling you to be a hero or anything, but if you have that in your spirit and your heart to do that and make change in the world, um, somebody has to do it. Everybody just can't sit back and ignore things because that's not how it works. Sometimes things have to be shaken up and all of that. So yeah, if you find true allies to help you, um, then yeah. But a lot of times there are no true allies in the workplace, right? Everybody's out for themselves a lot of times. Um, there's no trust there, and so it could be difficult to find someone. But if you do, then sometimes you just got to go it alone, or sometimes you got to say, okay, this is not my battle, and move on, right? When you see, because yeah, you got to pick your battles. Right? You got to pick your battles, and um, but the number one battle is safety. Very good life notes. SMNR says 6 people in the live chat. Who needs a club on a Tuesday? Yeah, I mean, I'd love it if there was 100 people here, but 7 people is fine to me right now. Even if it was 2 people, I'll still be here because somebody's going to hear it and get something from it. Very good life note says someone observing uh, someone being mistreated should absolutely step into that person and create that bond. Yes, yeah. If you see someone being, it's just like someone's being bullied on a playground, and you observe that, and you don't do anything about it. Then what does that say about you, right? It's uh, if you put yourself in that person's shoes, would you like to have an ally in those situations? Yeah, I would think so. Nobody wants to feel that they're fighting all by themselves, even though a lot of times we have to, right? And we should be prepared to fight by ourselves. So if we do have an ally that comes along, um, then that's always a plus, right? That's always a plus because some battles we cannot fight alone, and we should always welcome allies, but we should vet them as well, right? Because all allies aren't allies, if you know what I'm talking about. If you're observing, then help. It may save a life. Yes, there's something called the sin. You ever heard of the term the sins of omission? Right? It's the things that you can say, okay, I didn't do it. Yeah, but what did you do about it when you saw it happening? So that's almost the same as doing it, right? If you see some injustice happening and you don't do anything about it, it's almost the same as if you were the perpetrator of that injustice. And so you don't get a pass for not doing anything or just standing by and observing. That's not how it should be. But unfortunately, that's what happens a lot of times. Okay, so when you find yourself in these environments, you really question yourself, right? Question: is it worth it? Is it worth you being here? And once again, that comes down to what goals do you have, all right? Because some things maybe it's not as big as you think they are, right? Maybe you're just blowing them out of proportion in your mind, or it's not that they're not uh, legitimate grievances, but maybe just there to make you a stronger person, right? And make those things not as significant if you have a goal, right? But if you don't have a goal, then it could be hell on earth having to deal with that stuff all day. So you have to have something bigger than these grievances to get you through these environments, these toxic environments with toxic people. That's right, absolutely. The waffle too. Evil will prevail if good people do nothing, right? Because doing nothing is like evil too, right? Isn't it? Is it not? And that's one of the reasons I'm talking about this subject today, because it was heavy on my heart when I uh, came across the story of Rashim Carter, and he's just one of many. I mean, countless. I mean, how many times do we hear on the news about a black man, young black man, or whatever, getting killed just because of just because of being a human being, being the human being, the magnificent human being that they are, because somebody doesn't like that, right? And it's to not have that weigh on you, just like it weighed on me, and not even say something about it. I do have somewhat of a platform here. Um, and the fact that he was a tradesman, right? He was a welder and a millwright. I can respect that. He was out there. It's not like he was out there committing crimes or anything. He was just looking for work. He was looking for work, and he found, he found the worst of the worst, right? And that can happen to any of us, right? In any environment. And that happened in a small town. That happened in a small town, but it can happen anywhere, right? It can happen anywhere. And Bruno said, what should we do if HR is ignoring our complaints? Well, Bruno, I would say that it's really, if you put your time in at that place, and you don't see yourself quitting because you have a pension coming or something like that, or you build up some retirement, and you have goals, but now you run into this roadblock of some toxic people, toxic situations, and HR is ignoring it. Yeah, that could be hard. That could be hard. You may have to, if it's really that intense, then you may have to take it higher than HR, right? Take it. You may have to consult a lawyer or something like that on the outside, and deal with that situation. And unfortunately, sometimes it comes to that, right? And I know this is a very litigious society, lawsuits flying everywhere, people just trying to get money, but sometimes it's, a monetary compensation is the only way to compensate someone for the stress that they've been put through, right? You can't buy that time back. You can't buy that peace of mind back. Peace of mind doesn't have a price tag on it. So, but sometimes the monetary compensation got to at least alleviate some of the stress. I mean, some of it, right? So maybe it gets to the point where you have to do that, Bruno. Paragraph Lighton says, put it in writing to the department head. Next, contact the labor board outside the company. Yeah, that's very good advice. Paragraph Life Notes. She's dropping some gems here, some knowledge. People take note of that. Contact the department head. Then if not, then contact the Department of Labor. Because some people are so stuck in their ways that they just don't see that they're digging themselves a ditch, right? They're digging themselves a ditch, and sometimes they got to fall in it. I had to fall in my own ditches that I dug for myself in my life when I made bad choices, right? And I had to live with it. So why can't they live with it, right? They're putting people's peace of mind at just like it doesn't mean anything to them, right? There's a price for that, just like there's a price for everything, right? And just because they're somebody has a company or business or whatever, and they're mistreating people, well, they got more to lose. They got more to lose, right? So you just want to treat people right. But obviously, these people down in Mississippi didn't care anything about that when they took Rasheem Carter's life, and yeah, and so guys, at the end of the day, this live is about your peace of mind on the job, or even if you got a business and you're dealing with toxic customers, sometimes you got to let them go too, right? All money is not good money. Once again, document each incident along with who witnessed it and keep a copy of everything. You can whistleblow with an agency. Yeah. There you go, guys. Paragraph Life No said right there, right? So, yeah, if it's that serious, yeah, write it down. Write it down, document it. At least have something to back you up, right? Have something in writing to back you up. And, don't let it stress you out, okay? And it's part of life. Nobody said this world's going to be fair and easy but hopefully it builds character. Yeah, somebody drag racing out there. And that's what all the so-called hard times are meant to do. Okay, not to defeat us, but to make us stronger and all of that. Okay, so hopefully, guys, you got something from this. Once again, I'm paying respects to Rasheem Carter and everyone who lost their lives over racism in this country, over hate in this country, over evil in this country and around the world. None of us should be treating each other in that way, and but especially to us African Americans out here, we know, we understand because we've been living it for a long time, and that's not victim talk. That's reality talk. Okay. All right, guys. Love you guys for coming on in. The Waffle 2. Appreciate you. SMNR, Paragood Life Notes. And Bruno, thanks for coming on in and stopping by, man. Appreciate you. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.